Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Mike Luke, joined by Jason Shear. Hello, Jason Shear. How are you doing, my friend?
Splendid, Mike. How are you?
Not too bad. Now, you might say to yourself, Mike, is that a collared shirt you are wearing? Yes, that is a collared shirt we are wearing, but I am going golfing after this. I am very good at golf. You will see. Okay, now. All right, we're going to talk a lot today. We're going to talk about Brayden Burries, Arizona basketball recruiting, some football sleepers, my friend. I think we're going to have a few different takes on this. Also going to talk a little bit about something where I think Shear is severely underrating somebody on the football side of things. I am not at all happy. Shear, put your inner circle hat on, though. Check this thing out. I don't have it yet as I am in Tahoe, but look at this thing. Look at this. Put it on real quick. Look at this thing. Jacob Franklin, look at this thing. Oh my gosh, is that awesome.
I also have, I don't know why you wouldn't want the inner circle hat, but if you're more,
Oh gosh, those are awesome. I can't wait to get back. I almost want to leave Tahoe now so I can just get those hats.
We have 4 hats, Mike. We have 3 inner circle and 1 Circle K.
Okay, that very excited about this. We will talk much more about this. All right, now, Joseph says, okay, he says, how bad are the dog days of summer have to be to rehashing something that happened with the Pac-12? There's a reason we're rehashing this. So, Jacob Franklin, if you could put up real quick that tweet that I sent you, Shear and I wanted to talk about this a little bit. The final nail in the coffin for the streaming wars, after spending $20 billion on shows and movies since the launch of Apple TV to generate views in a month and generate less views in a month than Netflix, Apple plans to cut back on TV spending. Shear, this would have been the most Pac-12 thing ever to have signed up for a media deal with a place that is now looking to cut massive amounts of revenue. That would have been the most Pac-12 thing ever, and there were a lot of people that were pushing that, Jason Shear.
Yeah, it was just one more moment of, it could have been like the plan was that bad, right? Like Apple is like, you know what, like they're getting less ratings and less people than Netflix per day. The sports content just isn't there, and that's also why Apple was never going to go all in with sports. That's why they changed their offer. This is our offer, take it or leave it. It was never going to just magically increase and make everyone excited. It was a risk. It was always a risk, and now you see how big of a risk it was. It would have failed miserably.
It would have failed miserably, and first of all, too, this is something that if the rest of college football and the rest of the landscape is like, yeah, you know what, we're going to go with the linear and streaming option. The Pac-12 says, we will not do any of that. We will go over to the all streaming, and again for like $7 million less. And the whole thing was they're like, all right, well, don't worry about it. You'll be able to get money back on the other side. No, you're not. We've heard that before. Shear, this would have been even a worse disaster than we were reporting a year ago at this time.
Imagine they have a contract, and I know there were rumors. We don't know this for sure, but there are rumors that Apple had to spend a certain amount of money, right?
Right.
If that was in the contract, okay, I get it. But where are they spending that money? And if it wasn't in the contract, it was even worse. But streaming, you can make a case it's the future. I totally get it, but it's not there yet. And so, like, there's a difference between your entire broadcasting package being on Apple versus the Big Ten, which has 1 game a week. Like, it's completely different things.
And they keep trying to conflate the two. They're like, oh, well, look at this game that's on Peacock or whatever the case may be. That's 1 game per week. This was going to be the entire entity, and not only was it going to be the entire entity, it was going to be a situation where, I mean, obviously Apple is not all in, like you said. So this whole theory that Apple's going to come save the day, that was all a load of crap. And it was very good for Arizona. Thank you, Dave Hickey and President Robbins on this, to get into the Big 12, where you have stability here, Shear. Very excited about this.
Yeah, also, Apple TV just isn't very good. I don't know if you have it. You probably don't. But
I don't know how to use it.
It's just not great. Like, it's probably, I use Peacock and Paramount much more than I do Apple. And even Netflix is starting to stream sports a little bit. And yeah, it's not the same. And look, I realize a lot of Arizona stuff is going to be on streaming, right? It's going to be on, but it's ESPN Plus, right? It's different. And so Yeah, it wouldn't have worked.
Just quite frankly, it would not have worked. That's the best way. That's the best way. And the Pac-12, the only thing that they were innovative on that that actually worked was the Pac-12 tournament. That was it. Nothing else. Nothing else worked at all. Now, let's get to a little bit of realignment. Then we're going to get to a lot of football news here. Realignment, though, Sheer, we need to be very clear about something here. 2026-27 was always the target date for Brett Yormark to be able to add teams like a Clemson, like a Florida State, or a Louisville, or a Miami, or whatever the case may be. That was always the target date. There was so this idea right now that some people are pushing out there that, oh, well, the ACC is all together. That is not true at all. This was never the target date.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I mean, it was reporting something that was literally a year old. Like, they said this a year ago. Dennis Dodd printed a year ago. It was like a running joke when Pete went with it. And shout out to Brett McMurphy. Great nickname for Pete Thamel, Repeat.
Repeat is very good. Yeah.
But yeah, it was never, ever, like, we're sitting here begging people to listen to us when we say it's not imminent. And then people are like, aha, it's not going to be next season. It's like, it was never. How could you do that during the lawsuits? It's not even possible.
Yeah, it wasn't ever possible. And on top of that, is any school going to say, hey, guess what? We're in the middle of a lawsuit and we're going to book it out of here on August 15th. That is not the case. Now, I will say this. The way that you see things starting to unfold, though, and again, if you read some of the legal tea leaves, I do believe that if Florida State and Clemson, or if they win this lawsuit, I do believe the ACC is done. I believe the ACC is done because I think that because there are some attractive brands in the ACC that the Big Ten would love to have. And I think if this all goes down, Sheer, you're looking at probably the death of the ACC in much the same way we were looking at the Pac-12 at this time last year.
Yeah, someone asked me this yesterday. Do I think the ACC would fall apart? And really the only way it would have been similar to how the Pac-12 stayed alive, which is you backfill, right? You keep the other team somehow. You lose half your league, but you add other teams. You add Washington State and Oregon State and a couple others, and the ACC as we know it would die. It would be done. Because NC State, Louisville, Miami, Duke, North Carolina, they're out. They're out.
Right, for sure. They're out. Yes, they would be, because again, Duke, and we'll get to that in a second. By the way, the great Dennis Walsh says they won't win this for many years. It'll be a negotiated settlement. That's all we need, Dennis Walsh. That's all we need. But look at some of the brands in here. I'm going to throw you a couple schools. Tell me where they end up, Jason Shear.
Got it.
First of all, you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? All right.
Yes. Sorry, I had a text. Yes.
Duke.
Big Ten.
North Carolina.
Big Ten.
Virginia. Virginia's interesting.
That's the tough. That's the one I was talking yesterday with someone. I don't know. Virginia's probably more attractive than we're making it out to be.
I think Virginia is more attractive. Yes, I agree.
I don't know. I really don't.
I think Virginia ends up in the Big Ten. I think that from an academic, here's just my guess. I think the Big Ten adds 4 teams. I think they try to add Duke, North Carolina, Virginia, and one other team. That's where I think they're going to go with that.
That's fair.
Right. Okay. And then one other team, I don't know who it is. Now, there are some other ones that are from what I've ascertained, the SEC and the Big Ten have very little interest in Miami because they don't view it as a draw. They don't view it as you know what? If I'm Miami, if I'm Brett Yormark, I'm all over Miami. I think that fits in perfectly. I think that listen, let's be honest here. At Miami, you can still recruit at a top 10 to 15 level, right? So you're obviously going to be relevant at the and you still have a brand. If I'm Brett Yormark, I'm all about Miami.
Yeah, I think Miami's an easy sell to the Big 12. As long as the money's there, I think they're in that group of 4 that I would target. It's not attractive if you're the SEC, you don't want another Florida school. Florida's going to throw a fit. And they don't want Miami in there. Miami is not a cultural fit with the Big Ten at all. Come on down to the Big 12, and I think Yormark would recognize that right away.
Let me ask you this. Miami's obviously not what it was when we were growing up, but Miami to me is still a top 10 to 15 football program. You should be able to recruit at a top 10 to 15 level.
Yeah, you should be able to recruit well there. Absolutely.
All right, yes. I don't care what the facility. I mean, I know it matters. I get all that. But so then you got obviously Florida State and you got Clemson. Reading a few more of the tea leaves here, a little bit further along as we go. It does not feel, and I was talking with somebody in the SEC country. He was talking about Florida State, and he said, listen, man, he said Sankey on record, Sankey off record was very clear that they're not big. They are not looking to add teams just to add a lifeline. I don't think Florida State is somebody that the SEC is very attracted by at all. And obviously they're a non-starter for the Big Ten.
Yeah. Here's the deal. You don't take shots at schools and then add them. Right. And so Sankey was very clear. He took some shots the other day at Florida State. And when you do that, you don't do that and be like, oh, by the way, you want to come play in the SEC?
Right.
Just how it works. So yeah.
Brett Yormark not taking shots at the corner for Western schools at this time last year, Jason Scheer.
Brett Yormark's smart. Has he ever taken a shot at a school?
No, he hasn't. Well, but if you read the reports, they say that he's undermining behind the scenes. No. Well,
yeah, I mean, Yormark's not taking public shots at schools because what happens if you add those schools? It is really stupid with the current state of college athletics to diss any school.
All right, now we're going to get to Arizona football here in just a second. All right, now I am going to give you 4 schools. And again, this is all fluid. Everything can change. By the way, I saw that you were on a show the other day and they called you Mr. Right. Or is he right again or something like that? What was this show, Scheer? It was on Twitter. I saw somebody putting you on about it, talking about your amazing...
Oh, is that the stadium show where they talk about?
Yeah. Oh, very much like Jason Scheer. I assume you gave me a pat on the back as well on this show.
I wasn't on it. They just talked about me.
Oh, all right. Well, either way, yeah. Well, yeah.
I would always give you a pat on the back. Then.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's why I get that
wherever you want.
That's where I get that inner circle hat, though. Okay, now 4 more schools. We're gonna do this, and then we're gonna get on to Arizona. We're gonna get on to Arizona football.
Eduardo.
Yeah, no,
or that's Dallas.
That's Dallas. All right. So with Arizona football now, I apologize about that. We are going to no. All right, Louisville. What conference are they in 2 years?
Big 12. Come on now. Big 12. Okay. I think Louisville is very attractive. That market is much better than I think the average person knows. If I was the SEC, I'd be all over Louisville, but I think it'll be the Big 12.
Okay. Now, Florida State, Clemson.
Oh, Big 12.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
I thought you were. I thought it was
and then Miami.
Yeah, that's my 4. Florida State, Clemson, Miami, Louisville's my 4. It could extend to 6. NC State, Virginia Tech. I think that's a possibility also.
Okay. By the way, the Meisner, the prophet Shiramiah is always right. That's actually very good. Dude, you should go by Shiramiah. Now, Dennis Walsh says, will there be fat cutting? I don't believe so. I believe that all the schools that are in there are going to be taken care of.
Oh, I agree.
Right.
Look at this great swag we got at Media Day, everyone.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, you want to talk about swag as well? Look at this swag. I got my Big 12 pen.
I relate to your tweet the other day. I think it was a tweet. I steal every hotel pen. That hotel pen is coming home with me at every hotel I go to.
Yeah, and I love the notepads too. The notepads are underrated as well. I look at those and I'm like, man, I'm taking these things, man.
Absolutely.
I am taking these things. Okay, now let's get to a little bit of Arizona football, my friends. Arizona football. Okay, and then we're going to get to Arizona basketball recruiting. All right, Arizona football. We're going to talk under the radar players that maybe we are not giving enough love to at this stage. And I got a list of 6 players, and they don't even necessarily have to have played this season. They just have to be players that we don't think that are maybe being talked enough about, Jason Scheer. So, who is your first player, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first. I think Kevon Darton's not getting talked about enough.
No. All right, we need to talk about this. You don't have Kevon Darton even starting. Get out of here with this, dude.
What do you mean? Yeah, I do.
No, you don't. You even said on the you even said on your article on Wildcat Authority, you said that he's going to have to push to start or whatever. You said it's going to be Chuba and it's going to be Isaiah Johnson.
Well,
Kevon
no,
Darton's starting.
No, just because he wasn't here in the spring. I said it's probably going to be him and Chuba. I just said he wasn't here in the spring, so he's got to kind of pass those guys.
All right, fine. But yes, I love Kevon Darton. I think you're spot on with Kevon Darton. Again, you look at his stats last year, 40-plus tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. Those are good numbers.
Yeah, he's really good. I just think he's not being talked about because he wasn't here in the spring. Like, that was a big addition that people were excited about, but because he wasn't here in the spring and he's not kind of out in the open, people aren't really talking about him very much.
Right. Yes, exactly. So there is one. I totally agree with you on that one. Another one that I think we need to talk about a lot. I think that he might start Jonah Rodriguez from San Diego State. I think there is a lot of hope that he can be one of those starting, basically that 5th starting lineman. You already know who 4 of the starters are. Can he be that 5th? What say you?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Right.
I mean, he's good enough to do it. So I don't see why not.
Yes, I would put him. I would put him in there as well. Now, who's your next one, Sheer?
It might be cheating a little bit because we're talking.
Go ahead.
But I'm not. I think Marquise Gross-Killebrew is the starting corner.
He was going to be the one that I was going to list as well. Now, it was your information you got. I think it's pretty good information. Go ahead and explain to the people a little bit, kind of some of the background here as to why he might not have necessarily played as well at some of his previous stops.
So he had a hernia, and no one found the hernia, and he kept complaining to coaching staffs, I'm hurt. And they were like, there's nothing there. And he's like, it just feels weird. And he goes to Arizona, and Arizona does a full medical, and they're like, dude, you have a hernia. And he's like, I knew it. I knew something was wrong. And so he has surgery. He misses the spring, and supposedly during the summer, he's looked awesome. And this is a kid that was a former 4-star recruit. And so, he hasn't played in the past, but I think the expectation right now is that he's the starting corner, or at least it's a competition between him and Freeney.
Yeah, I would be honestly, barring injury, I would be very surprised if Marquise Groves-Killebrew is not your a starter on the opposite side. I'm also going to go a step further here. I also think that I think he's going to be good. I really do. I think he's going to be good. And I think he's going to be good out the gate. Listen, we talk about Dwayne Aquina all the time on this show, the old white guy. And with Dwayne Aquina, one thing about it is you look at his resume, and I kid you people not. I kid you not, ladies and gentlemen. This is probably the most qualified defensive backs coach in college football history. I mean that seriously. You look at yeah. And when when theoretically he's really excited to work with somebody like a Marquise Groves-Killebrew, he's definitely excited because you look at those other spots. The safeties, as we've talked about, are absolutely loaded. Tacario Davis, you already know what he is. He's a total stud. And Trayden Stukes, as Dwayne Aquina always says, people aren't talking about him enough. Then you throw in Marquise Groves-Killebrew. If he's good, or let's just say he's decent, you've got one of the best secondaries in the country.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. Like, I understand there's not corner depth. That is absolutely a concern. But you look at the safeties, and I'm putting that group up against anyone, including depth with Goss, Genesis Smith, and all that. Like, there's a reason why Arizona wants as many DBs on the field as it does. If Groves-Killebrew is average, I feel much better about this defense and secondary as a whole.
And we've seen it before, you can do so much more with different players then, because at that stage then on the back end that you've got you've got a level of stability there that you didn't necessarily have. You can take a few more chances. Now, so again, Marquise Groves-Killebrew, shout out to his pops, by the way. Pops listens to the show every day. We very much like his father. All right, now, defensive line. Here's where I think it becomes a little bit interesting. We've talked about the starters. Isaiah Johnson. I am going to take credit on Isaiah Johnson, Jason Shear. I told you about Isaiah Johnson last year. This staff likes Isaiah Johnson. I'm not really taking credit for it. I just asked Shear to ask about him. But Isaiah Johnson, he's going to play.
Yeah, he's got to stay healthy. That's always been the key. There are very few guys on the roster that are stronger than him.
Right.
And so he's got to stay healthy. And if he does, he's going to play quite a bit. Had a really nice spring. That's really the key. I mean, I could analyze the heck out of it, but if he's healthy, he's playing.
All right. Oh, by the way, Dennis Walsh, the great Dennis Walsh. Ooh, taking a shot at Takario Davis. Oh, we don't. Oh, he says Takario loses his stone hands. He's the second coming of Woodson. Joking aside, that's true. I mean,
Yeah, no, he's right.
what was the game we were at where he dropped like 3 picks and a half? Was that?
It's like it was funny because he like led the nation and passes deflected, and it's like, well, that's because he didn't intercept the passes he should have. If he did, he probably would have led the nation in interceptions.
Yeah, he would have led the nation in interceptions. I mean, either way, and you know what the lamest joke is when somebody says that's why he plays DB because he couldn't catch the ball. You hear that all the time. But no, You're right. T. Burns, the great T. Burns says Oregon State. That was right. Oregon State. That was one of our most inappropriate press box games. Yes, that was the game. Isn't that the game where Jonathan Smith like ran the fake and it was like 20 yards short?
Yeah, we all yelled like even the press was like completely broke at the moment. They're like, "What is this dude doing? Like, what just happened?"
That was one of the most bizarre plays I have ever seen. But yes, You are right though, Dennis Walsh. If Takario Davis if he is able to catch the ball, he is going to be a problem. Now, Sheer on the Sheer. Are there any linebacker? I really looked hard for this. Are there any linebackers that we're not talking enough about?
No, there's not. There's not. I'm very curious to see how the spot next to Manu progresses. I feel okay about Camilla and Tay Brown, and we'll see on Flo, but no, I think that's the biggest misfire of the offseason is the ability is Arizona not landing another linebacker.
I still think that you have to put, and again, whether it's the dollar package, whatever you do, I think you have to put Genesis Smith closer to the line at that point. I really do. I think he's got to be that player that is close to the line. And second of all, I mean, you've seen him. He is huge. He is one of the biggest safeties that has come through here. I mean, he is well put together. He's instinctive. I like putting him in the box and just kind of seeing what he can do.
Yeah, I think you have to. And he's big enough to do it. Right, like he's big enough to do it, and it's going to be interesting. That's also a concern for me.
Yes,
other linebacker spot. That one.
That's a fair one. Here's where I'm at on defense. I have 2 concerns: pass rusher depth and who that other linebacker is. Because I'm kind of bullish on Marquise Groves Killebrew at this point. Those are my two concerns on the defense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I actually feel okay about the pass rushing depth. I'm not
make your case.
Trey Smith and Ty are really good. And then you kind of there's ways to kind of move things around that I think you're okay with, if that makes sense. Like there's ways around it. Even if it's like Manu becoming a little bit more of a rusher. You know what I mean? Like I just think there's like Lalesio, I think is solid. I don't think, I think he could get it done. I just think is it a deep position? No. But like Chase Kennedy, what happens if he reaches his potential? There's guys that make me feel okay about it. I don't think everyone's going to be a miss.
All right, fair enough. We will go with that. Now, let's move over to the offensive side. Then we're going to get to some Arizona basketball recruiting as well. On the offensive side, though, Jason Shearer, let's talk a little bit, my friend, about maybe a receiver that's not being talked about enough, except on this show.
Malachi, your boy?
Yes. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, look, when we went to media day, they said Malachi. He was the first receiver out of people's mouth besides T-Mac. I trust the staff and the players.
So you now trust me.
Is that a sleeper though? That's not a sleeper.
He had 6 catches for 70 yards last year.
Yeah, but the other receivers are gone. I mean, someone has to step up.
All right, but you also think that the numbers of 700 yards and 7 touchdowns were wild.
Yeah, I don't think he gets that. I don't think he gets that.
You don't think he even comes close to it?
I think he could come close. I think the 7 touchdowns is a lot, Mike.
All right. Well, we will see. Okay. Loudon says, I think Owen Goss is actually going to be good, even if it's just on special teams. I like Owen Goss. Yeah. I think Owen Goss is going to play well as well. What say you, Sheer?
Yeah, I like him a lot. Old veteran guy. They brought him in. They like him quite a bit. They think him and Stanley Taufu, is that, I don't know, whatever. They think they're both sleepers. They're both sleepers.
Yes. All right, now, Raymelo Murphy. I like Raymelo Murphy. I believe that Raymelo Murphy is going to do well this year. What say you, Sheer?
Yeah, I think he'll be solid. We've talked about this before. The Old Dominion offense wasn't good. Quarterback wasn't good. Offensive line wasn't good. I think he'll be solid. There's a few wide receivers that like Chris Hunter is another one. Like they love Chris Hunter.
Right.
He could absolutely be a guy that plays more because they're going to rotate at the position. We could talk about other receivers and it's not BS because we know they actually could see the field.
Okay, Rudy Martinez says, Rudy, you know this stuff. Yes, he's the kid from Colgate. Now 2 points here. Palmer Hoffman, P-Hoff. What are your predictions for FAM this year? Here's where my predictions are for FAM, and here's what I would love to see happen. 2 things. There's 2 different things here. First of all, Jed Fish did a very big disservice to FAM by playing him as a freshman. What did he give him? 6 carries, so he burned his redshirt year, and he weighed my
15 carries. 15 carries, 7 games. It is a travesty that they burned his red shirt for that. It's BS. And when the coaching staff here found out, they were pissed.
Yeah, and they should be pissed. Here's what I would love to see happen. I would love to see, and keep in mind, I don't know, this isn't any inside information. This is just me spitballing right now. But I would like to see FAM play 5 games, return kicks, play everything, get that red shirt year. The reason I say that is because it gives him another year to get stronger. He's got 2 more years, and then it's him and Risano going forward. I would love to see that. I think that makes a world of sense, Sheer.
It makes the most sense. The only way it wouldn't make sense if he wins the kickoff return job and he's just really good at it, like game-changing kickoff returner or punt returner, special teams guy. I think that could change that dynamic. But in an ideal world, you play him the 5 games, you give him some touches, you redshirt him, you let him get stronger, and you let him be one of the premier backs in the league next season with Risano. It makes the most sense. That room is really like Quali's gone, Corey's gone. You have Riscano, you have him.
Yeah. It's a good, and those 2 would clearly be the top dogs. I think what also is what really helps in this, and again, this is just me spitballing here. First of all, we like Raymond Luke a great deal on this show. He is the man, one of the very cool fathers out there. He and Zoe have a very good relationship. And I think with Alonzo Carter, I think one of the reasons that he connects with players is that he just kind of, by all accounts, he's just an easy dude to be around. And I think that is something that, I think their trust in him could definitely help. But here's what I would do, though, to be clear. I would play him 5 games. And I would play him 5 games, and I would throw him out there, get him that, and then say, man, you got 2 more years. You come back in next year at about, 186? Something like that. You and Risano. Thunder and lightning, my friends. Thunder and lightning.
Yeah, that just makes the most sense. And you play him the 5 games. I think even if he does eventually redshirt, he will see those 5 games in the bowl game. He will play this season. They're not just going to waste him away on the bench. Arizona likes him. I think there's some concern about his overall strength, and that goes back to how he was treated when he first got to Arizona.
You got to remember, he came in at 155. I mean, that's not a big dude, or 162, whatever the case may be. He was just not a yeah. Now Joseph says here. All right, let's talk about this. FAM is better than Quali. I will argue that till the day he dies. He might have a higher upside, but you got to respectfully, Joseph. Quali's a stud. Quali rushed for 1,100 yards previous year, 900 last year, and he's putting in 7.5 yards per carry, something like that. Quali's gonna play.
Quali's really good, and here's the thing: he did it he did. And I know this sounds silly, but he did it at Utah Tech or whatever he was at. He ran for 1,000 yards, and then you go, oh, he's not going to be as good at San Jose State, and he averages more yards a carry at San Jose State. He caught for 270 yards. He's good. They think he's very reliable. I think that's the thing. If you want to make the case he's not one of the more explosive running backs in the country, that's fine, but he's very reliable, and in college football, that goes a long way.
He just also, I mean, let's be honest here. He also played very well last year against good teams. USC, granted, you could say that, whatever you want, but he's going to play, and Chikori's going to play. I would like to see just when FAM is ready to go, I want FAM to be touching the ball 12, 15 times per game. And I think that really behooves to redshirt. So we will see that one. Now, Loudon, very good point. Dorian Thomas was Dorian Thomas not being talked about enough. Last staff was in love with them. Dorian Thomas is good.
He is good. That's not the tight end I would say we're not talking enough about, though.
Right.
The tight end that we're not talking about enough is Sam Olsen. They got him from San Jose State. I think Miranda starts. I think Olsen makes a push for that position.
Where are we at with Kean Burnett?
This is it, right? Like this is his. Like he's got to produce this season. You
got to produce this season. You got to get on the field. Plus, they're going to be running a lot of 2 tight end sets. Yeah. You know, I like Kean. I think Kean's a very good football player. But like you said, you got to be able to get him out. You got to be able to get him out there and have him produce. Now, T. Burns, great T. Burns. This is where I'm at. You get Quali for 1 year, and he knows his role as a backup. Save Speedy for 2 years with more size. I agree, man. Like I said, I value Speedy enough that I don't want him necessarily splitting these carries. Plus, the other thing too, as strong as he is, he can still put on some real weight. And that's, you know, not significant, but he can still continue to get stronger, Sheer.
Yeah, he's got the frame to get stronger. I mean, we're never going to see him at 210 pounds or whatever, but, right. You know, he's 165 now probably. That's still a little skinny. Like, if you could get him in the 180 range or whatever, I think you're in business. But, yeah, like, and it's not a waste. You wouldn't – let's be clear. If Speedy sucked, you wouldn't redshirt him. You'd get rid of him, right?
Right.
Redshirt that the coaching staff likes him.
Right, exactly. Like, look what they did. They didn't think much of Jordan Washington. Bye. I mean, that's just kind of the way it was. Jordan Washington was not going to play much here, so they said, see you later. So that's kind of where it's at. Let's see here. All right. Now, one other player that Sheer is not giving enough love to, and we are going to talk about this. But first, Shady Rays. Here's the deal. You might look at, let's say, Dennis Walsh and say, man, that guy's cool. Or you might look at Gringo Billy and say the same thing. Behind every cool man is generally a pair of cool Shady Rays. And that is where it's at. Sheer, can you imagine how cool Sheer would look right now if he had Shady Rays?
It's a good point, Mike. It's a good point.
It is a game changer. Do not leave the house without your Shady Rays. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Sheer, do we think that Erica L. Day wears Shady Rays?
I would think so. She's so cool. Yeah, why not?
She's very, very cool. Oh, you know, hobnobbing up in Phoenix and everything with those. I would imagine. Check it out, those Shady Rays. All kinds of good stuff. You will thank me later. And Four Peaks. I am excited about Four Peaks and the movement. The Four Peaks movement is back. And not only that, the beer never left. The beer never went anywhere. Check out Four Peaks, my friend. Here's the deal. Visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. Check out at Four Peaks Brew or at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest in Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 years or older to drink Four Peaks. Please enjoy responsibly. Sheer, Four Peaks. You've seen the little wagon go through here. It's very cool.
Four Peaks is in the streets. They're everywhere.
Yes, it's very cool. All the kids like Four Peaks as well. I would imagine Kobe Thiel. I would imagine that NPOB, all of those people drink Four Peaks. Check it out, Four Peaks Brewing. Again, I like the Kilt Lifter. The Kilt Lifter is very, very scrumptious. So check it out. Either way, Four Peaks, another one. Will you thank me later? All right, now let's get to a little bit of Arizona basketball, Jason Sheer. Arizona basketball recruiting. Okay. Jacob Franklin, we have these highlights of Brayden Burries. Brayden Burries, I believe, could end in this class as one of the top 5 to 6 players in the entire class. He is a total stud. This is, out of every player in the at any class, this is Arizona's top priority by a mile, Sheer.
I don't agree with that, but
who's their top priority over him?
Koa.
You think Koa Pete's a priority over him?
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
I think Proof is kind of where Tommy's been watching. Now, look, if you want to go 1A, 1B, 1C, type of deal, that's fine. But Brayden Burries is obviously really good. He can do it all. He's grown into a true point guard. I know he has been mentioning Arizona a ton lately. I just think that happens to be his interview. And if you talk to him, when we interviewed him, Mike, he missed a few schools when we were kind of like, what about this school? And he's like, oh, yeah. The only thing I don't like about the recruitment, if I was criticizing, was, I don't like the fact that the official visit was so early. Like, he's already taken his official to Arizona, and he has a bunch more to other schools. Arizona needs to find a way to get him on campus. But he's a guy, you look at the roster, he's probably stepping in day one as a point guard. And other schools are recruiting him as combo guards, and Arizona's adamant, you're not a combo guard. You are our starting point guard.
Isn't he, well, let me ask you this then. Isn't he more of who knows where Jaden Bradley's going to be at this time next year? Isn't he more of a need for next season than Koa Pete is?
I think I don't like saying, and I don't do this often. Like, again, if you want to go 1A, 1B, or 2 1s, that's
say
fine.
It. You know what you're doing right now? You're doing that crap where you say, I don't disagree.
That's not how coaching staffs look at it. Brayden Burries and Koa Pete are different positions.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Koa Pete is the number one priority. Brayden Burries is the number one priority. If Brayden Burries came to Arizona, if Mikal Brown came to Arizona and said, I want to commit, they're not turning Mikal Brown down because of Brayden Burries. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if there's a 4-man that they want more than Koa Pete. Does that make sense? Like, there's no on that level.
Let me ask you this. Who would you rather have for next year, Koa Pete or Brayden Burries?
Me personally, I'd rather have Burries because of the roster.
Yeah, because of the roster. Here's the thing. And again, you take Koa Pete every single day of the week, and you laugh all the way. I don't know where you laugh to, but you take it.
You laugh here, though.
Yeah, but you laugh. But you already got Tobe Awaka, obviously. You've got, and again, you've got Mount Crevis. So you've at least got something there. You could potentially, depending on how things go, just have Conrad next year at point guard. And as much as we like Conrad or Comrade, he is not.
That was good.
I like it. I'm going to start using that a lot. But like I said, man, I look at the roster. I look at the priority. He would be my top priority. I have no problem saying that.
Yeah, that's fine. It's not like you're saying something crazy that a top 5 player would be your number one priority. Yes. I love Burries. Mikal Brown's really good too, and they're in it for him. Am I arguing between the two? No. Give me one or the other, and I'm cool with. Koa Pete is my 4-man in this class that I need. I don't see anyone close that they're recruiting as good as Koa.
All right, now, and you know that Sheer likes Koa Pete if he's talking up a kid from Gilbert Perry.
Yeah,
that's something. True. This is very true. Also, now let's talk about Xavion Staten. We need to get this on Staten. But Xavion Staten, listen, I think he's got a world of potential. The great Shane Diefenbach, it was very funny. He was complaining when we were there, and he just said, dude, I'm looking for highlights. There's no highlights really ever. And he was able to find some because that's how great Shane is. Listen, this kid has a world of potential. Arizona's in his top 6. But again, he is going to take a little bit of time. Whereas Koa Pete's ready to come in and play immediately. Xavion Staten is going to take, he's going to obviously take a little bit of time. And I don't know if he wants to do that or not because you're going to have Mount Crevis and you're going to have Tobe Awaka.
Yeah, this feels like it's going to wind up turning into Arizona, UNLV, and BYU. UNLV is like literally 5 minutes from his house, and he would start there right away. Arizona could develop him better, but the key word is develop. And then BYU just pays people a ton of money now, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah, he's good. I don't know how good of a true freshman he would be, but as like a sophomore or junior, he's leading the nation in shots blocked.
He'd be a monster. Yeah, it just depends on how much he wants to just depends on, where he wants to go. But Arizona's going to be in that one as long as they want to be in that one. Now, we were just talking about Tobe Awaka. If you get Koa Pete, and again, obviously it's a problem that every coach takes. If you get Koa Pete, what's your starting lineup then? Because I have a hard time believing that you didn't at least tell Awaka when he was coming here that, hey man, do your thing, and then as a senior, that 4 spot's yours.
But Mike, Awaka's a 5.
Well, Mount Crevis, he's going to shoot the 3 though. So is Trey Townsend.
Awaka's a 5,
but he's going to be a 4.
Look, if
So you're basically saying he's always going to be a backup here, and that he was
No,
recruited.
I think Krivas is in mock drafts next year.
Do you see that?
I'm just saying. You never know.
Sure.
That's all up to Krivas.
Sure.
Krivas averages 12 and 8 a game. He could go pro.
Sure. Nobody's listening. It's just us here. Come on. Let's be
Walker's
honest.
a 5. Ko is a
Right.
4. Ko is more of a 3 than a 5. So it's.
Oh, so would this be could this possibly be the Aaron Gordon thing where you just tell the kid, all right, here's exactly what you're going to do, and we'll let you.
A Walker's a 5. A Walker's a 5 man. It's like when we say Trace Townsend's not a 3. We both know that.
Right. Well, but Trey Townsend only played 5 at Central or wherever or Oakland, and he's going to play 4 here.
Yeah, because it's a different situation. A Walker's a 5 man. I'm just saying. That's what I stand resolute, Michael.
What's that? All right, we will find out how this one does. We will find out how this one does play out. I am not totally convinced, but we will see. Okay, now I do believe Krivas is I do believe Krivas is an NBA player. Okay, now I'm going to ask you this, Sheer. Is Mount Krivas in the NBA draft next year?
No.
All right, I'm gonna ask you one more question then. Is Mount Krivas in the MNBA draft at this point next year?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, so now, now we are all right. So here's where we're at though. We're also at the stage now with Mount Krivas. You think Mount Krivas is going to be back? You believe Awaka is going to be back, and if they get Koa Pete, so Awaka will come here and not start for either of his years. This is what you were saying. This is true.
I think Awaka doesn't start, but I think he plays quite a bit.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. We will see how this all plays out, Jason Shear. This is but you have your board though. Oh, well, by the way, this is just a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. We've got to talk about Javier Amos and Trey Townsend again. Here's where I don't get, and somebody was on your board was trying to say, well, he shoots 2 more threes per game in the skill set. You take Trey Townsend every day of the week because you know he's good. Amos was the 3rd leading scorer on a terrible Northern Illinois team that was also one of the worst defensive teams in the country. Trey Townsend is better at basketball, period.
We got to make a list of players that people wanted out of the portal and just track it. Amos is one of them, or as you call him, Javier Amos.
Yeah, Javier Amos, yes.
We need to track him. I am still I am, you know me in spacing. I'm all about 3-point, but eventually it's like, dude, like I'm not taking 1 more 3 a game. When I think spacers, I think like Jack Olkey. I think guys that,
right.
Are hitting me up, taking 11 threes a game and change a game like that. Not a guy that makes 2 out of 4 as opposed to 1 out of 4.
Would you be, let me ask you this. Would you feel more comfortable going into the Big 12 this season with Trey Townsend as your 4 or with Javier Amos as your 4?
Townsend, easily. 100%.
And let's be honest, if Amos is your 4, you're probably a little concerned about that. In the Big 12?
Yeah. Unless you're look, Arizona didn't even recruit the kid. So why are we talking about him?
Because
they
it's
didn't
fun.
recruit him at all. Oh, I know. I'm saying there were other 4 men besides Awaka that Arizona recruited that it didn't land or went elsewhere or whatever. I don't believe it ever recruited Amos.
Yep, I did not recruit Amos. We very much like that. Okay, now, on that note, no better time to become a PHNX diehard. All kinds of really, really good stuff. You will, again, this is another one of these ones. You will thank me later on it. Gets you more merchandise, all kinds of loyalty shirts, probably a little bit closer access to Jacob Franklin, all kinds of really good stuff. And, Jason Shear, where can they find you doing your work?
WildcatAuthority.com, Wildcat Scoop podcast with Shelby.
All right. Now, let's big. Let's see the hat. Let's see the hat again. Come on. This is how we're going to sign off here. I will have this as soon as I am back. Look at this. Look at this hat. All right. Oh, gosh. Oh, but man, look, that inner circle one. That inner circle one just hits a little bit differently. Wow. It looks good.
They're valued at, according to street value?
Huh.
$1,000 street value.
Yeah,
you can't get them.
That's one of those things that you basically have to like lock to your clothing because you could be taken.
Yeah,
with
I
one of those
didn't
inner
even leave
circle
it in the car. I could have left it in the car. I'm like, no, I can't
No.
risk that.
Never do that. All right, Sheer. We'll talk with you soon. As always, thanks again, Sheer. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
All right. For the great Jason Sheer, the venerable Jacob Franklin behind the scenes, I am merely Mike Luke. Thank you all as well. You guys are fantastic. Come back with us. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.